Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Stephen Brownson, and today I'm going to present Jason Downs, Professor Downs. Vamos a presentar Señor Downs. Good evening as well. This is interactive. Tenemos una oportunidad interactiva en esta vez. Tenemos una otra sesión en el próximo miércoles a las 7 y un workshop interactiva en el 19 de mayo también. So we have another one. We have several other workshops with Mr. Downs. I'm a professor at California State University. I also decided to experiment, and I've been working with preschool through high school in short and long term to see what's going on online, on-site, and in hybrid mode. And so I'm not just saying this from theory. Estoy trabajando con alumnos con experimentación para ver el mundo real. Thank you for attending. Muchas gracias. Y quiero presentar señor Juan Carlos Dianderos. I'd like to present Juan Carlos Dianderos.
Hello, good evening to everyone. My name is Juan Carlos Dianderos, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Stephen Brownson and also Jason Downs, who is an expert in teaching English as a second and foreign language in the United States and in other countries of the world. Jason also holds a master's degree in special needs students. I clarify that this later with me. Today, yes, I want to reinforce the announcement Dr. Brownson has said. Next Wednesday will be a very important workshop carried out by Jason Downs. And here we will discuss all the different possibilities in the use of the digital resources and tools in the digital classroom. But before we start our webinar, as I said, I would like to remember the process we have had to go through during the last year. Of course, nobody expected that education was going to change so quickly and so abruptly at the same time. We teachers, we had to relearn our methodology. We had to relearn how to teach and how to engage students, but using digital tools in this case. If you remember, at the beginning, it was like a chaos. I'm talking about March, April last year. Most teachers didn't know what to do, especially in our country, Peru. We lacked connectivity, we lacked of digital tools, we lacked platforms, and especially what we lacked the most was the way in which teachers approached students. I have a 15-year-old girl at present, and she was at school. And I remember that teachers at that moment, 1 year ago, I'm talking about 1 year ago, teachers were trying to teach their classes or to carry out their classes as if they were in a face-to-face environment. And the result was a chaos, I must admit that. Little by little, why it was a chaos? Because a face-to-face class is totally different to what we are doing today. After a year, most teachers, we have learned. Even teachers, trainers, we have also learned. We are using new platforms, which is something new for teachers in general. And we also are learning to use new methodologies because the objective at the end is to make our students learn and develop their competencies and capacities and skills they need to develop if we are going to say that they are learning. So in this process, research has been carried out all around the world. I'm sure that in all the world, teachers have been innovating. They've been trying new ways, new methodology, and all this chaos started to be seen like it was ordered. There are new needs, of course, new needs. And the methodology has to take into consideration how to engage the students in the digital classroom. How do we make students get interested in what we're showing them? Because if they are not interested, they are not going to learn. And how can we interact with our students using a screen and using a telephone, using a computer, a laptop, a desktop, or whatever. Of course, one crucial issue is connectivity. If there is no internet connection, it's going to be very difficult to make our students learn. So in our country, we have this necessity, and we need still to get on working with connectivity, because that's a crucial issue, as I said before. So the other aspect is, how do we develop a successful methodology? Jason is going to talk about this later, because the methodology definitely has to provide a way to engage students. Many teachers at present say, I don't know if my student is connected or not. I don't know if he's paying attention or doing something else, because many students tend to just fade out the screen and you don't know if he's there or not. That's also another aspect that we have to think about. Now, and in this aspect of methodology, of course, we have to examine the best practices. Some teachers are very successful. Some other teachers are not successful at all. And I think this is a time of sharing resources, sharing things that work out for you, sharing things or practices that are successful in your case, and see if the students are reacting to this. Of all this, Jason has developed a very nice and engaging methodology, and he's going to talk to us about it today. So in the end, as I said at the beginning, what we pretend to do is to make our students learn, because that's the purpose, the general purpose of education. If we just give our classes as assuming that they are learning, that's not enough. We have to prove and we have to be sure that they are really learning. Otherwise, our teaching or distance learning teaching would be really useless. So we with the team, with Jason, with Dr. Stephen Brown, with Bernard Pamit, and with some other experts around the world, we have been working on developing certain methodologies and sharing that with teachers in order to help teachers, especially in Peru in this case, to make the teaching successful. Well, having said this, I want to introduce now Jason Downs, our lecturer today, and he's going to show us some techniques, strategies, and ways in which you can engage students in the digital era, in the digital classroom. Jason Downs has a master's degree in teaching English. You make this clear later, Jason, when you start your teaching, right? And I want to give the warmest welcome to Jason for sharing what he's been doing with us. Welcome, Jason. Now the audience is all yours.
So hello, everybody. I'm Jason Downs. I teach in Los Angeles, California. I have a master's degree in English literature, and I specialize specifically in teaching students who have English as a second language, as well as students who have special needs and students who suffer from trauma. So what I asked everyone to do when they came in is go ahead and click that link that I provided in the chat. It goes to a site called Padlet. So the whole point of today is to go ahead and talk about engaging students in a digital classroom. Now, it's amazing because even while Juan Carlos was talking, we were able to actually go ahead and engage with everyone in this Zoom through the Padlet. So using this Padlet in the beginning actually is a really awesome engagement strategy that we kind of demonstrated as Juan Carlos was speaking. So we're going to go ahead and look at this Padlet before we move on. And I'm just going to go ahead and highlight some things that were said. So we see getting students involved, making students a part of what's taught. Engaging students means catching their attention, making them interested, deploying strategies to get all of this successfully. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm seeing a lot of the same conversation around getting students involved. Now, really quickly as well, because I'm just going to dive right into a strategy. This is a Padlet. This is an amazing website that allows you to essentially give students a way to post anonymously or include their name, as we see some people did above, and respond to other students. You can do amazing things like go ahead and put the question in here, provide sentence frames, but this is, again, a really cool tool that will allow you to engage with students when classes start, or while others may be speaking, or just while you're waiting for them to go ahead and come in. I usually use Padlet while I'm taking attendance because it's just kind of helps save some time. So let's go ahead and just get started with the presentation. You're gonna notice me shift a couple times during this presentation in order to demonstrate what engagement kind of looks like. So first off, we're gonna look at what does engagement look like in a digital classroom. Then we're gonna move on to some teaching strategies. I'm gonna actually give you 3 strategies you can use in a distance learning classroom that will increase your engagement and your participation. And then we're gonna move on to platforms for student engagement. And we'll be going through 3 platforms. We'll be using actually 3 platforms, and we're including the Padlet that we have. So including the Padlet, we'll go through 4 total engagement platforms. Now, this is a quote that I want to ground us in today that I really have been living by since distance learning started. So this quote says, if I wasn't prepared to be flexible as a situation demands, I wouldn't have become a teacher. With distance learning, we have to be flexible. We have to change. We have to adjust to the students' needs. Now, ironically, I found this on a Japanese anime about an alien teaching a class of misfits in Japan. So it's not from any educational mentors. And we're going to touch on why this is important later. So, engagement in a digital classroom. When we think of an engaged classroom, we tend to have an image like this in our minds. And it's an image of, like, not the weird alien monster, but a classroom full of smiling students who seem to be having fun and really enjoying being there. But sadly, in reality, this is what your digital classroom will look like. But it's actually probably going to have less cameras on. And while this may look like a simple cartoon, I just want to highlight a couple of the faces of the students. If we look here, we see a student who's angry. You're having to deal with students who are suffering loneliness and are angry they cannot be at school. If we look here, we see a student staring off. They're distracted. We will have students who have just woken up. And again, more and more students who are distracted. So in the distance learning classroom, engagement has to look completely different than when in person because we are behind a screen. So this raises the question, how do we engage students through a screen? Students nowadays spend a lot of time looking at YouTube, streaming television, on TikTok, or just engaging in some form of social media. With distance learning, students can easily have their phones or a myriad of other distractions open during class, and we have no idea. And realistically, no way to enforce rules about removing distractions. So we must compete with these distractions. But to get students to engage, again, we must adapt to these online platforms. As Juan Carlos said earlier, you have to find different ways to measure engagement. You won't always just see students sitting there paying attention. That's not gonna always happen in distance learning. You may sometimes see their ceilings. You may sometimes see just like the top of their heads because they're too shy. You have to find ways to get engagement. So when we think of engaging students, we have to consider two things in the digital classroom: how to measure student engagement throughout a lesson, and how to keep a student's attention and keep them engaged throughout a lesson. And when I mean measure student engagement, I more mean measure student participation, because not all students are going to have the ability to talk in a distance learning classroom. So there are three ways you can measure student engagement. So if they show me 2 out of 3 forms of these engagement, I am really happy. And you're gonna see why I don't expect them to always show verbal participation. Because weirdly enough, verbal participation is actually a lot harder on Zoom than we expect. So verbal participation is the first thing that we'll cover. So this is having a student speak out loud. Sadly, this is hard to get from all students. I would say only 75% of my students speak out loud, and that's pretty high. Some students may dominate Zoom conversations, just like they do when we're in person. But you need to try to get an equity of voices, which means hear from everybody, not just a few students. However, some students may be too shy to talk or have a reason why they do not want to, such as a speech impediment, bad Wi-Fi, a loud home environment, anxiety. When you speak, your video goes to the front, so some students get really shy about that. Do not penalize students for not talking. This will just cause them to disengage completely. 2, chat participation. All online classrooms have chat rooms and ways to save the chat transcripts. If you go and, for example, in Zoom, you can see 3 dots and you can actually save the chat from there. Most professional online personalities or streamers use the chat to engage with their users. We can copy this method as teachers. So you will see me model chat participation and how to engage the chat a little bit later. Now 3, work/activity completion. So students will be expected to complete work to show they have mastered content. So providing various ways to check for student understanding throughout the lesson and track engagement is extremely helpful, especially for students who are shy and do not want to engage verbally or in the chat. You have some students who will be so shy, so scared of speaking in public or getting a wrong answer, they will not even chat it publicly or chat with you out of that fear. So this work completion and tracking this throughout the lesson is really important. So we're gonna go ahead and just go through a couple rules before I completely shift how I run this. So I'm gonna go and give you 7 rules for student engagement. Be yourself, be authentic. Do not act or pretend to be into the things the students are into. I see a lot of students using slang words the students use, or like trying to be into like TikTok when they're not. Don't do that. Be yourself. The students like it when we're ourselves. Secondly, get to know your students. Ask about their interests. If you have common interests, use them to your advantage. For example, I really like anime, which is Japanese cartoons, as you all saw me quote earlier. I bring this into the classroom and this creates a sense of community. They have come to expect my anime GIFs, which are the moving pictures, and memes, which are just pictures with words on them. So when you can find common ground and common interests with your students, this will increase engagement. So it could be sports, it could be music, it could be a cultural common like interest. Just find something in common. Now, encourage everything. Every act of participation is to be celebrated. Shout out every student who answers a question in the chat. You are their cheerleader. You have to be 10 times more encouraging than in person. Sometimes it will take months of positive encouragement to get one student to talk, but that encouragement is everything. Switch up activities often. Do not spend 20 to 30 minutes on the same boring activity. Students will just disengage. 5, do not talk at students, okay? Talk with them. Make them part of the lesson. Let students have opportunities to talk and, oops, sorry, I got it locked. Talk and choose their own learning paths when possible. If you talk at them, they disengage. Never talk about student failures or what they are not doing. Celebrate everything. Instead of, why is no one logging on to Kahoot? Say, I'm so proud of those already logged on. Let's get 90% logged on to Kahoot in the next 60 seconds. 7, and this is really important. Most people don't like distance or digital learning. It's just different. We're not used to it. We don't know how to do it really yet. This is the first time our world has had to teach digitally. But do not tell the students you don't like it. They'll immediately disconnect because if you say, man, I don't like distance learning, I wish we could be in person, they're going to take that in as, I don't like what we're doing together right now. So I'm not going to care because you don't care. So many teachers do this. Act like you love distance learning. That is going to go ahead and make them at least enjoy it. Do everything you can to make it a positive environment. So now we're going to shift a little bit. You're all are about to role play with me, so I can kind of display what I'm talking about. So I'm going to actually pretend that all of you are my 8th grade class because I teach 8th grade. From here on out, I will be modeling an interactive, engaging class using multiple platforms. I'll still be teaching you about the platforms though. To encourage engagement and then combined with ways to hear student voice. So I may even ask some of you to talk. I want you to notice the shift in my personality that's gonna happen. It hasn't even happened yet. It's not gonna be a large shift, but notice I'm still the professional I am when I'm talking with you all. But I want you to see my constant encouragement, my feedback, and the energy I'm bringing. But a quick warning, do not try to have students jump to as many platforms as I'm about to do with you. I am using so many because I want to show you at least 4 amazing platforms, including Padlet. So we're going to go through 3 more platforms before the day is over. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and shift this webinar. Go ahead and give me just 1 moment to go ahead and get this open. But really quickly, the next section that we are going to go ahead and talk about on our on the next platform is teaching strategies. So while I show you a teaching platform, I'm actually also going to go through 3 strategies for student engagement. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. Again, I am pretending you are my 8th graders. So I'm in my classroom, I include a lot of essentially anime links or anime pictures. And this is what I am going to include with you all as well. So let me copy the link address and I'm going to put this in the chat and everyone's going to join. Now I'm going to give everyone about 60 to 90 seconds to please get added. If you hear my dogs bark, I do apologize. So go ahead and put your first name, last name, nickname, but we're gonna give you about 60 to 90 seconds to get logged in. I'm gonna throw it in there one more time. Thank you, Eli, for being our first one in there. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Erica. RPG, it makes me think of role-playing games. Roxana, Victoria, thank you. We're gonna go again about 45 more seconds. Martha, thank you as well. Karen, thank you as well. We're gonna get started in about 40 more seconds. Magali, Nareen, Nora, thank you. I'm gonna throw that that link in the chat one more time, just in case. So go ahead and get added. We're gonna wait until we get at least 50% of us in here, but we're gonna go another 30 seconds because I wanna make sure we all have a chance to participate. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, Angelo. We're gonna go ahead and wait and get a couple more before we move along. And this is again, just going to show you the way that we can use these platforms to engage our students. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Juan Luis. We're gonna go ahead and again, take another 15 and then we're gonna get on the train and we're gonna go ahead and start this game. So, oh, if it's loading, go ahead. It might be the internet. This is the cool thing about quizzes is while I am using the platform, you can still add. It's really cool. So while I am actually doing the lesson, you can still add in. So we're gonna go ahead and get on started so I can show you all what it's gonna look like. If it's still loading, if it's being a little weird, go ahead and just watch on my screen. It's gonna be pretty neat. So we're gonna get started. Now, as everyone will notice, you will see that the join my quizzes and enter code still pops up on the top. All right, your first time that you use this program as well, it will give you a step-by-step tutorial, which I usually use it on Safari. It's my first time using it on Chrome. So we are going to quickly talk about student engagement in class. We are going to cover 3 of these on quizzes before exploring other platforms. Now, the first strategy I want to talk about is called 30-30-30. This is an amazing strategy designed for digital learning and that also works in person. But I will show you how to do it over digital learning, okay? So let's get it rolling. So the basic concept is this, and then sorry, quizzes, a little touchy sometimes. The basic concept is this. You give students a timed and systematic method of answering questions. You do 30 seconds for thinking, 30 seconds for typing, and 30 seconds for sending. Then the teacher will ask those to share after. I will now demonstrate. So first you ask the question. I'm just gonna start with something easy. There's no wrong answer to this, okay? What is your favorite genre of literature? So when I say that, I mean fantasy, sci-fi, self-help, nonfiction, poetry, etc. So in this first section, students just think about it. Do not have them type. We want to get them in the mindset and get them thinking before they type, okay? So you would go for about 30 seconds. For the sake of time, I'm gonna give us about 15. Now, second, you would then go and ask again, what is your favorite genre of literature? And go ahead and throw that question in the chat. During this time, the students are going to start to type their answer. And you can actually provide them a sentence frame. And I want everyone to notice the way that I am utilizing the Zoom chat. I am going ahead and throwing in the sentence frame, throwing in the question so that students have access and therefore can engage. So for 30 seconds, you just have the students type. Now, once that's over, you are going to go ahead and have the students finish typing and send their answers. You must praise everyone you can during this time who answers. Now, remember, I'm treating you like you're my 8th graders at certain points of this. So again, what is your favorite genre of literature? For the next 30 seconds, send me your answer. Send me your answer and go ahead and answer it here as well. What is your favorite genre of literature? And I will model. My favorite genre of literature is science fiction. If you can't tell by the Frankenstein on my wall. So in the Zoom chat, what is your favorite genre of literature? Go ahead and send that to me. Thank you, Claudia, for nonfiction. Rodrigo, thank you for poetry. Thank you, thank you. So again, notice how during this time, everyone is sharing their answers. Miss Elizabeth, Gabby, both fantasy. Natalie, drama. Martha, poetry. Juan Luis, we would get along well. I adore dystopian fiction. Magali, I love the self-help genre. So again, notice I'm calling out every answer. When I see something like dystopian fiction that I relate with, oh, Juan, I love dystopian fiction as well. That's finding the common interest. Again, Nora, I'm a science fiction fan all the way. So now, during this section, the teacher will then share their answers and select 1 to 3 students to share their answers out loud. Now, I'm not gonna make all of you do that just because this wasn't really a debate answer, but this section would just have this teacher having students share out loud. Now, a little bit of a pro tip, you can send a student a private chat message to tell them you're gonna ask them to speak out loud. This will alleviate, AKA get rid of, a lot of the stress that comes with public speaking and make the student feel more comfortable. And because you gave them that option, they're gonna be more engaged, trust you, and do better throughout the lesson. Now, I also wanna make something clear about the share out section. It is okay to share out wrong answers. I love sharing wrong answers. And I will ask the students, is this completely correct? Is this wrong? You can go ahead and engage not only with students who get things right, but get things wrong. Common misconceptions during the 30-30-30, because you're getting constant answers, are really easily identifiable. So we're gonna now move on to the next slide. So in quizzes, you actually can test students to see if they remember. So what was the name of the strategy that we just shared? We have 30 seconds, answer it. And the beautiful part about this is you can track student engagement and participation throughout the lesson. If the student is not answering the check for understandings, they're obviously not paying attention. I'm not assuming you aren't paying attention, but this is a really useful strategy for just making sure a student is there the entire time, okay? And then you will notice there's a leaderboard, which is super awesome because then it will go ahead and name who is the top scorer. You can see who is the most engaged, but it's 30-30-30. Now, what is the order that we go ahead and do these in? Now, I'm not testing you all. I don't mean to test you all. I'm just trying to show you these engagement strategies and show you the way that this platform actually allows you to make sure your students are understanding what they are being taught. It's super awesome. I'm gonna go 10 more seconds. And again, no pressure here. Go ahead and try your best. You guys are all just doing amazing anyways. I'm super happy that these websites are working and we're able to get logged on. That is a major accomplishment. Now, we're gonna go back to the leaderboard and we're gonna see who is winning. We have Angelo and Claudia with a close race for first and a good. Think, type, send. Now, strategy number 2. This is called discussion stems. So discussion stems, in class, like students often do not know how to respond to each other. So we ask students to talk to each other. We ask them to have conversations. In reality, they don't know how to do that more than likely. So what a discussion stem does is you can essentially give them phrases that will help them understand how to phrase their discussions. So I'm going to go ahead and show you on the next slide what I mean. So a discussion stem for agreeing with another student could be, I agree with blank, but would like to add blank. Another discussion stem could be, I respectfully disagree with blank because blank. Notice I put the phrase respectfully in here just because we want to make sure students get in that really positive classroom environment. And if a student like angrily disagrees, you'd be like, no, 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 you respectfully disagree. It just reinforces that positivity you need to give throughout. These actually work perfectly after you have students share out after a 30-30-30. And you can also use these when you have students responding to one another's answers when writing or answering comprehension questions. Now, discussion stems go perfect after what? Go ahead and let's just make sure that we're all on the same page here. Thank you those for answering immediately. We have 4 out of 21. Let's go ahead and try to get more of us answering. By the way, I'm not shaming. This is just an engagement strategy. So I'm really happy with those 10 who have already answered. Let's try to get the next 10 in the next 20 seconds. Again, notice time frame, SMART goals. And when we were averaging about 11, 12 in the beginning, when I go ahead and encourage, we got up to 14. So it even works with adults. But this is a really amazing way to engage students. Wow, all right. Close, close, close. But again, it goes perfect after the 30-30-30. I see we got a jokester with the dinner. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So this is called the Wheel of Names. This scares students. So you can use a website called wheelofnames.com to make a wheel that randomly selects students' names. It keeps students on their toes, make sure they pay attention, and it is equitable, which means it gives all students an equal opportunity because it allows for all students to have the equal opportunity to speak. You're not picking on students. You're not picking the same student over and over. It is an equal opportunity. They all have the equal opportunity to be chosen. So they can't complain when they are chosen. Now, however, you do need to gauge the needs of your students because some students do not like to speak. If you force them to speak, they may disengage forever. As a result of that, I don't use these. My classroom environment makes it so I don't have to. I have most of my students speaking. However, almost all the other teachers I work with do use it. So it is a useful strategy. It just depends on your classroom. And this is what the Wheel of Names looks like. So you would go ahead and insert names. You would click it. It would spin, and then big letters come up with whose name it is. All right. So now, this was quizzes. We're going to go back to my PowerPoint. But I want to actually show you before we do end the beautiful part of quizzes that is oftentimes ignored. So oftentimes teachers go here and they're like, oh, cool. I saw who got the first place. I saw who got second place. If you click view reports, you can actually go down. Yeah. Hold on, let me exit this. Okay, you can actually go down and see how individuals did and see who wasn't answering your questions. You can download the report so you can pull it up later. Quizzes is a really amazing platform. So now back to here. So those were just some teaching strategies used that I just want to show you on quizzes and show you that different platform. So now we're just going to jump through various platforms for student engagement. Do not use too many platforms in one class. I am only doing so today for modeling purposes. We're adults. I'm expecting most of us to be able to jump platforms fairly easily. Do not expect students to be able to do so. I would say limit the amount you use from 1 to 2. All right. So real quick, the platforms that we use, I'm gonna go over some pros and some cons. So quizzes. You can make lessons is a pro, which means a good thing. It's easy to track who's participating. It makes reports. It's an easy to use interface. Very useful free edition. You're gonna notice me talk about the prices. Students can join anytime during the lesson, and the reports are individualized per user. However, there are some cons as well. Every website has cons. You cannot edit pre-made presentations. So if I shared that presentation with you, you could not edit it. You also cannot duplicate presentations that are not yours. So you cannot share it with coworkers. They always have to use your version of it. And it doesn't work well on cell phones. Like, it does not work well on cell phones. It says it does not. So it does not work well on cell phones. And students nowadays do a lot of things on cell phones. Now, another one is called Google Forms. And a lot of us know Google Forms because it's commonly used in school and is part of the Google network. The pro of Google Forms is it can track live data. Very user-friendly. It can be easily distributed. It can even add media. You can easily copy, duplicate, share with others. Works amazing on mobile. However, again, there are cons. It does not automatically track who's responding. You need to add a question to ask for their email or name. It does not save student work, so it must be completed right then or the students will lose their progress. And it's really hard to make lessons using it. It's really hard to make lessons using it. But I want to point something out. Google Forms can be ran to give live data about information you have just taught. So I actually call using a Google form for live data a skills check. And this is just another strategy you can use that I'm going to use with you right now. So what a skills check is for me is I would open up a Google form, and you will notice that I have a Google form with common English on it. Very common English on it. Very common English terms on it. So round character, flat character, very common literary terms surrounding characterization. And then I'll also have pictures on here. Now, once again, I want to use you all as a model and show you how I would use this. So if I were to launch this in class, I would go to send via, and I would copy that link, and I would put it in the chat. Now, everyone, no shame. It's not going to show your name. Go ahead and just try to answer this real quick, because I want to show you how we can track live data, because this is super cool. So let's pretend we're in class and there's 0 responses right now. I would say, okay, students, here's your skills check. I want you to go ahead and take the next 3 minutes and fill out this skills check. Now, I'm going to just talk to you about the importance of data while you are filling that out. So the importance of data is this. You have to see how well you taught something. If you do not gauge student understanding, you cannot monitor their progress. If you do not track data throughout your lessons, throughout your units, throughout your year, you don't know the students' learning goals. You don't know their learning achievements. Yay. Oh my God, I love that it's showing me the new things on this too. Now, this is what I mean by live data monitoring. Notice I got 1 response, and thank you for my 1 response. You're the best. And it immediately filled in the data. And it will tell you as we go down, what is the question that is missed. It will tell you how many students got it right. So I'm gonna actually wait, and I do not mean to do this, but I wanna wait till we get more people answering. Again, no shame if you get these wrong, like Not all of us know Star Wars. Not all of us know the difference between round and flat. I've worked with many English teachers who do not use those specific terms. They are often called other things as well. But yay. Now notice that when I get this data, it is showing me an average. It's showing me a median. It's showing me a range. And I can actually go down and see what are the most missed questions. What do I need to go back over as an English teacher? So let's say, for example, I noticed that one student got this wrong. I could ask a student to explain to me why it's true that a dynamic character changes. So these are really useful ways to gauge student participation and make sure that they are understanding what they are being taught. This is so important. And also, like, I know this is about student engagement, but this also tells you if you can move on with the lesson. If they all fail this, you probably need to reteach that lesson. So this is really useful for multiple things. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right back because that is Google Forms. And feel free to steal this strategy where you just go ahead and sit on the responses page. And actually, before we move on, I want to show you something neat. So let's say that I have a class of 25 students. I can actually go ahead and sit and wait until all of them finish. I wouldn't suggest doing that too often, but this is a way to make sure they're engaged and you can get all voices. Because if you have 25 students, you're gonna need 25 responses, okay? So clear, and we're gonna move back on to engaging students. Now, Kahoot. Juan Carlos said something in the beginning that I was really glad that he said. We need to find what students love. Students love Kahoot. So pros, this can also track data, very user-friendly, can be easily distributed. It can even add media, easily copy, duplicate, share. It works well on mobile. Students love it, and it allows you to make reports. However, you cannot make live lessons. It's only useful informally. It's not good as a test. It needs to have a teacher run it. And the free basic version only allows 10 students. So really quickly, I'm going to show you what Kahoot looks like because I already have it loaded up. So we're going to go ahead and have individuals. I believe I can only have 10 people. Go ahead and visit that website and use this game code and get logged in. I'm going to actually try to get you the exact website in just a moment. There we go, kahoot.it. So you just have to click the link. There we go. Just go ahead and click this link and it will send you there. Okay, I believe I can only have 10 people. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna give you about 60 seconds. This is very quick. It's only 4 questions. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Angelo. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Claudia. You all are doing amazing. Thank you, Chichico, point 2. Thank you, Christian. And if I say your name wrong, I do apologize. Thank you, Nora. I believe we're getting close to that 10. Thank you, Karen. We're gonna go another 20 seconds before we get started. Thank you, Natali. Thank you, Roxana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool, we got our 10. Let's get, oh yay, it allows more than 10, it seems. Cool. So we'll actually take another 30, 40 seconds then and allow you to get started. Oh yeah, working well on mobile, it's 50-50. This works okay on mobile. It works better than quizzes. The app is better, but almost everything on cell phones is a little wobbly. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started because I'm noticing the time now. So this is what Kahoot looks like. So we're just gonna test online platforms and see who retained that knowledge. So first was a quiz question. Which platform is best for giving a lesson? So again, Kahoot, it's kind of a quiz. It's a way to do informal checks. When all students answer, the beautiful thing is it will immediately throw you onto the next question. So we're gonna go ahead and just wait for everyone to answer, and it does give you a set time. Now, similar to quizzes, it also scores you. So we have 7, and then it's gonna go ahead and say who's winning. Awesome, right? So next one. Which platform is best for having students post an answer all students can see? And I apologize for the memes. Students love them, so I use them quite a bit. Again, even that is part of engagement because it gets them to see it. It gets them excited. It makes them want to pay attention. But make sure your memes are appropriate. Good. So we got Padlet. Padlet is that best one. Padlet is by far that best one. Ooh, we got a shift. Cool, cool, cool. Angelo's going for that win. Awesome. So which platform needs a teacher to run it for the student to use it? Three, 2, 1, and boom. Okay. It's gonna be Kahoot. This needs a teacher. They cannot do this by themselves. And now we have 7148691 winning. I will now see what platform can be used for a quick test, but does not save student work. And this is the one I just made very clear, does not save student work. Does not save student work. I have seen so many teachers get mad when they use this platform and it does not save the work, okay? So realistically, I wanna make clear, Google Forms does not save the work. Quizzes, I believe they can go and find their own reports. Kahoot doesn't save it, but it's only a test. There's no work done there, okay? So again, the beautiful thing now is you have the podium. When you have competition, this will have students engage more because they really then care about what's happening. They want to be this #1 with Spotlight, okay? Really good job, everybody. Really good job. Now, we're almost done, but oops, sorry, I forgot to add the Run the Kahoot quiz. Now, Padlet. This is the one that we first used, okay? So pros is just students can post anonymously, very user-friendly, can be easily distributed, can even add media, you can easily copy, duplicate, and share with others. Cons is that it does not automatically track who's responding since it posts anonymously, but you can ask students to put their names. Like we had people put their names in here, which you can do. And it's only really useful for a do now or a short activity. Free version is very limiting. You only get 4 free Padlets. I have no problem showing you my free Padlets, but you only get 4 free Padlets before you have to buy the advanced version. You can always delete them and then keep deleting them. But if you want to save student work, that's not really feasible. So the free version is very limiting, only 4 Padlets. But before we end, I do have a last second engagement tip. Pick interesting texts, specifically multimodalities, okay? There are texts that use pictures, graphics, videos, etc. that can increase participation, okay? So even things like video games, art, charts, audio, podcasts, music, these will increase participation. And on that note, next week, I will be hosting another webinar about how to use a multimodal text, which is teaching graphic novels in the classroom. So I'll be going over various things like Japanese graphic novels, American graphic novels, and just essentially what the difference is between Western and Eastern graphic novels and helping you understand how to bring them into the digital classroom and just really how to teach them. Graphic novels are new. Their rise in popularity is new. So I'll just be giving you a basic understanding so that you can begin to teach them. But now we're going to go for Juan Carlos because he has one more advertisement for another webinar we have coming up.
Okay, thank you, Jason. And now, at this moment, we would like to encourage teachers' participation. You could ask questions about what you have just heard. You could even make suggestions. You could share your own experience, or you could even criticize, because this is what we want it for, to make it interactive. So I have to say thank you again to Jason, really, for a wonderful webinar, as usual. And I want to ask participants whether they have any suggestions, critics, comments, or general questions. In fact, would anybody like to participate, please? Just raise your hand, and then we will allow you to make the question. Yes? Anybody?